Hello everyone, it's Rachel from Moments to Milestones, back today with our newest card class featuring the Sweet Spiders stamp and die set from Fawn. So we have a couple 3D projects and a card, have a sweet Halloween. We have this little no adhesive box, got it filled with eyeball candy. And we have this little Kit Kat treat holder as well. And like this would also fit a gift card inside, and your little box would do that as well. So we are going to get started. Now I will say, if you get the kit, you get a picture of each card with some instructions, but I will say on the two 3D projects that this video is going to be more useful than the written instructions. It's just hard to write instructions for 3D projects. Also included are the dimensions I used should you want to create another box. And then I've included what it will look like. So you're going to get a scored sheet. It's scored, but it's not cut away for you. So this is kind of your example to look at to know how to cut it. And you'll get the same thing for the Kit Kat box. That one's green. So when the time comes, you can use those as a tool to help you get them cut the way they need to be cut. So we are going to start with the card on this one. You're also going to need some distress inks or some coloring medium of your choice. I use distress inks, and I'm going to show you the coloring stencil from Fawn and some blending brushes, but you could certainly use colored pencils or alcohol markers, whatever you want to do. But these are the colors I'm going to use today: mustard seed, crackling campfire, walnut stain, evergreen bough, and black soot. So let's get out our first kit. And I'm going to start with this little fox, and for him I did use colored pencils. I'm just going to get out some orange. I just got a little Crayola set here. I'm just going to color him. And I'm going to go in with a darker orangey red. This is actually, yeah, red orange. And I'm just going to darken it up a little bit. And you could use Gamsol if you wanted. I'm just going to leave it. It's just a small image. I'm going to use a little gray just as it's white, but just add some shadow. And then for his ears, a little pink. And he is ready to go. And so I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut him out. I don't have a die for that particular image. Find some scissors. And you can cut right up to him. I'm going to leave a white border just like the die would, but it's up to you. All right, I have my little fox cut out and ready to go. And then I have all these little pieces of candy that we need to color, and our little fun size bar. I will say before you color these, make sure there is no wax paper on them. So just give them a little rub. If they feel waxy, then pull that off. We just use that sometimes when we die cut to get the dies to release. I think we're good. And then you also have this little heart and the fun size candy bar. So you can use colored pencils as well to color those two images. I actually used the coloring stencil that I spoke about earlier. So I'm going to pull that out. And so this is the Sweet Spiders stamp set that we use from Lawn Fawn, and I also have the coloring stencil. It does not come with it, you buy it separate, but it looks like this. There's writing on it so you can see right side up, but it is made to match every little image in here, so you can use inks to color, blending brush or daubers, whatever you've got, and it has all the different layers, so pretty cool. So we're gonna show you how to use that. I also have a waffle flower grip mat that I'm going to use to hold my images while I color. Pull off the protective sheet. So I will start with those two little stamped images, and I'm just going to stick them onto my grip mat. And I have the heart here, so down here in the bottom is that heart, and it just should line up with the outline. And I'm just going to stick that down. It'll hold my stencil in place. And I use the evergreen bough, and I have a little blending brush here from Altenew that I'm going to use. Just get a little ink, and I'm just going to swirl over. You can get as dark as you want. Come on one side and get a little shadow if you want. Just like that. Take a rag, wipe off the stencil. And then, so now you've got a perfectly colored heart rather quickly. I'm going to do the same for the fun size bar. So that little piece is right here. So I will line it up. And I did the same color. You could do orange or yellow if you wanted. I'm just going to use what I've got here. I'm just using the ink that's already on there. I think that looks good. So there's my two little pieces, and I'm going to use the same grip mat. I'm going to color my candy. So you're going to have two evergreen bough, 2 mustard seed, and 2 crackling campfire. And you're also going to do this big long piece in evergreen bough. Unless you choose to do orange or a different color, it's up to you. I am going to stick with that I did on the card, and then you're going to need these 2 little peppermint swirly pieces. And so I'm going to get out that ink again, my little blending brush, and I'm just going to ink them up. And the grip mat holds them in place, which is kind of nice. And with a smaller blending brush, if you have something larger like this, that will still do the job. These smaller ones you can add some shading to. You can get a little bit more controlled, so you can make your candy darker on one side or the other, kind of enhance that round shape. And these I want a little bit darker, so get those good amount of ink. And then I'm going to do that same for these. So that looks good, and as it dries back, it will not look so blotchy. So I'll pull those off and let those dry. That is distress ink, so it's awful wet. It's going to need a little time to dry. So I'll pull those guys off, and then I'm just going to squirt a little water on that grip mat in case I have any ink on there. I don't want it to mix with my orange or my yellow. And now I'm going to do the orange. So I have 2 pieces of candy, and now I'm going to get the crackling campfire. And I'm going to use this large brush on these. And you can still get the shading effect here. if you do not have a grip mat, you can put your images on, you can tape them down to a piece of paper. You can put them back on, if you have like some low-tech like post-it tape, you could stick them to that so that they hold in place. Kind of tricky when they're smaller to get ink on them. So those are ways if you do not have a grip mat or something similar. And now we have the two yellow candy pieces, and then I have this one, looks like a wheel. That's also going to be yellow. So mustard seed on those. And then put nice and dark on that little wheel. It's not a wheel, but it looks like a wheel. Okay. All right, so we've got all of our pieces colored and ready to put together. So if you feel like they're dry, then you can go ahead and glue these pieces on, otherwise they're not going to stick so well. You can always use a heat gun to speed it along if you need to, but I'm going to go ahead and glue this yellow onto one of those yellow pieces of candy. All right, so those are on, and so now let's assemble our card. So I'm going to put foam on the back of this. I popped that up to give that window effect. So let me find some, got some strips here. All right, I have my foam down and the backing removed. So now I'm just going to line it up onto my card base. And there it is. And now you have this piece of the candy, so I'm just going to line it up however you want. If you want it to look like that, not sure if I like that, or if I want a little, I have round to round, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to put some glue on each little piece. Stick it across. And then I'll just trim off what's hanging off. Get some long scissors for that. All right. So there's those candies. And now I got my little fox up here by the spider web, and he's holding a piece of candy, and I just glued him straight down. And a little candy bar in his hand. So the little heart goes right underneath Have a Sweet Halloween. You could certainly pop that up if you wanted to. I did not. And now we gotta lay down our pieces of candy. I have 3 in each little bit here. So I popped up the 2 greenish blue ones. So I'm going to go ahead and put those down however they look good to you. And then I'm going to put a foam square on the back of that one. And I think I did cut them in half or little squares for the little edges so they don't lift up and get tore off. want to be able to see that black. Let me just move it a little bit. Oh, that piece is going to go right there. There it is. And do these. Bring that back as a reference. That one did not get glued down. And then we're going to do that same thing. Foam on the back. And then I'm going to put that piece like so. So we got our little pieces of candy. Now, one finishing touch, if you have a white gel pen and you want to add some highlights. I did that with the pen and just helped create that round look. So it's up to you. You could do it with your the way you inked as well. Just a little detail. And then I did it on these inside the I've got it upside down. Do it the same way. All right. You know what? One little place. I put some up here on my box. And that finishes off that card. All right, our next project is I hope you catch all the treats. Happy Halloween. It's this little box here. You can put whatever kinds of goodies you want in there. So we are going to start. Let's get our kit out. We will start by creating the box. So let's get out our black pieces. I'm going to leave everything else inside so we don't lose anything. All right. They are scored the exact same way. Okay, 2 lines are already done for you. And we're going to go in and burnish those lines and then we're going to do that all the way around. 2 on this side. All right. And so this is where you will want to get out your template. So let me grab mine just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, so what you want is for this piece to end up looking like that piece, okay? So I'm going to have mine off to the side as a reference point, and I'm going to get out my long scissors and it'll probably be hard to see because it's black. So here is how I'm going to start. So it's a square and everything's all the same. There's 4 squares here and 4 squares here, but we need to leave this one. That's going to be our tab. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in from the bottom and I'm going to cut all the way. I'm going to cut through the first line all the way up to the center. Because if you think about this box, or this square is going to be the top or the bottom of whatever. This is the bottom of the box. So I'm going to cut all the way like that. I cut through one line up to the second, and I'm going to do the same thing right here. Okay? So now it looks like that. I'm going to flip it around, and I'm doing the exact same thing. So all the way to that second line, all the way to the second line. So now it looks like that. So you can see we've got it getting close, okay? So now what we need is this little flap, and you have on the corners 1, 2, 3, 4, and we need to cut away. I'm going to cut away these two that are next to each other, and then I'm going to cut away this. So now it looks like that, okay? So we're going to cut 1, 2, 3 away. All right, so I'm going to go in and repeat that process just like I did before. So I'm going to cut away those two that are together and then the one off the end. Let's go over and do it on this side. So in the same way I cut, I'm going to cut to that second line, take off those two squares. Same thing. Alright, and then we got to take off, we need the flap, so we're going to cut off, pull that up and out of the way, we're going to cut off that and that. This can all be trash, or if you keep scraps. So now it's very similar to what I want. So the only difference is when is cutting these at angles so that when we fold them they don't get caught. And so it doesn't have to be a real deep cut or a big angle, but what I like to do is fold those in and just ever so slightly just cut little triangles off the edges, and then you get that angled cut. And so now when we go to fold it, it's not going to get in the way. Alright, so there's one box done, okay? So because this is a no adhesive, these flaps are what hold it together. So you have these flaps all going in the same, and you're going to fold this over those flaps, this over those flaps, and then the two sides get tucked in, and you have the bottom of your box. Now, if you want to shore up your box, you don't plan on taking it apart, you can. I open it back up. I'll show you where I would put adhesive. I would put adhesive on these 4 top places so that when you tuck them in, adhesive would be there, like so, and like so. Okay, but it's, like I said, it's not necessary. It will hold its shape, especially when you put something in it. So there is the bottom box. So now this one is smaller, so it's not going to match up completely, but it will look, you're going to cut it in the same way. So let's go ahead and score on all those lines. So there's 2 lines on each side. Burnish those lines. Okay, so now we have that same thing. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut up to the second score line. Hopefully you can see. So that's what I did. And I'm going to flip it around and do the exact same thing. Trim. Trim. So now it looks like this. Now on these edges you have 1, 2, 3, 4 little squares, and we only need this inside one here. So these need to go away. So I'm gonna, in that same direction, I'm gonna cut those away, and then this one off the edge. So cut those away, and the one off the edge. So now it looks like that. Flip it around and do the exact same thing. So we can get rid of those pieces. And now it looks like this. The last thing to do is so that these fold over nice and easy, it's to angle those tabs. So I'm going to keep those folded up like I had them. And then I'm going to come in and just trim off ever so slightly at a small angle. You don't want it to be too small or make your box, the smaller or the deeper the angle, the flimsier I think your box will be. So you don't want a big, huge angle. All right. So now we have that same thing. So as you can see, it looks like this one, but it's smaller. Okay, and we're going to fold it up in the same way. Also, you won't need adhesive here if you don't want it, but if you do, I would put it on these 4 panels. Okay, I'm going to fold in my tabs and fold that first over the tabs, and then fold those in. And now your box lid is put together, and now you have a nice little, it looks like a little jewelry box. Okay, so your box is made. So now we are going to work on creating the top. So I'm going to set my box aside, and we have some coloring to do. All right. So I am going to use my coloring stencil again. You can certainly use whatever medium you want. Oh, I don't have my sentiment. I lost it somewhere. I need to find that. That's fine. All right, so I got all my little pieces here. I'm going to get back out my grip mat, and I'm going to put them on there. Now, if you don't have the coloring stencil, you're just going to get out whatever you like to use and color these in any way you want. So I have different blending brushes and the inks. So let's start with anything yellow. So I did the sucker yellow. Let's start with this sucker. So I'm going to put that right over the top. Just like that. Okay. And then we did part of this chocolate bar, so the part of the wrapper that is like been ripped off. And then the candy corn. So the bottom portions of the candy corn, they're right here. There, I need the bottom. So we'll match those up. So if you are not a huge fan of coloring little images and all this, you don't want to do a lot of shading, these coloring stencils are amazing. You can actually get the effect of shadows and whatnot with it if you want, but if you don't, you can just color them very quickly. You could mass produce. And so that's all the yellow. So let's move on to the orange. So the orange, I'm going to color this chocolate bar wrapper orange. So let's move on to crackling campfire. Get out. This time I'm using a Pink Fresh Studio little blending tool. Works the same way. All right. And the fun size candy bar is orange. Perfect. And then what else? We have the gummy bugs. So I'm just going to do the top and bottom. the little side of the bag as well. Oh, and then we also, I forgot about the centers of the candy corn. Need to be orange. Line those up. All right. So those images are colored. I need, let's do evergreen bough, and I'm going to do the little piece of candy here, and it has several layers. So we'll just match it up. Maybe let's do the edges first. There they are. You can make it two-toned if you want. I might go really dark and then really light on the next one. So I'm going to cover up what I already colored. And I'll go light. All right. Let's see, we have the center of the gummy bugs. I made that this color. So there's that. So I have the 2 spiders left, the popsicle stick and the chocolate bar. So for the chocolate bar, I'm going to use walnut stain, and this time I'm going to use this little pouncer. So let's cover up get the chocolate bar exposed, and I'm just going to go in with the brown. Perfect. And I think I'm going to use brown as well on the popsicle stick. There's that. And the last 2 things I have are these spiders. So I'll line that up. And then I'm going to use black soot and this little pouncer. And you can go as light or as dark as you want. I kind of don't want to lose his eyes and those, so I'm not going to go super dark. So there he is. And then I'm going to do this little crawling spider. And same thing for him. Go a little darker on the bottom and create a natural highlight there on top. All right. We have all of our coloring done. I'm just going to clean this off. Actually, I'm going to use a little rubbing alcohol this time. All right, so let's put this together. So our spider web, I think of what it was called. So I just have it hanging off, whatever looks good to you, and then I'm going to cut some of it off. I'll cut off whatever's hanging. Something heavy over it to hold it down. And then we have the little spider web, the straight web, the little spider that's coming down. And I'm also going to have that hang off ever so slightly. So, we're just going to trim off. All right, so there's that. I'm going to get out some foam squares and we're going to pop some of these guys up. So, got my little spider. He's going to get popped up. And the other spider, I popped him up as well. And I kind of have him crawling on the web. We have got the chocolate bar. Got that down here. And this little piece of candy on top. And you can pop up whatever you want. If you're giving this away, I don't know how much dimension you might want or not want. The gummy bugs are over here. Fun size bar, I have that popped up, but I think I'm going to need to cut one of these in half. What else do we have? The lollipop and the candy corn. So I think I popped these up on that card, but I'm just gonna glue them down. Just the different layers is gonna give it some dimension anyway. And the little not popsicle. Wonder if I've been calling it a popsicle. It's a lollipop. All right, so there's that. And then the last thing, you should have a strip that says, I hope you catch all the treats. That is going to go onto the orange paper, and then you're going to put it here. I pop mine up. It's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't know what happened to mine, so I'll have to get one cut out, stamped and cut out, and finish my box. And then you're just going to put that centered right over the Happy Halloween. And then this piece gets glued to the top of your box, like so. I think I need to refill my glue. It's getting kind of empty. Let's see if that's enough. So it just gets centered on the top. And you can fill it with whatever you want, and that box is finished. Okay, we've got one final project, our little Kit Kat treat holder. So let's get all of our little bits out. And you should have a couple pieces of candy corn, a spider, and a little heart to color. You should also have, this is masking paper. I'm going to show you how to use that. We're going to put the box together first, and then we'll color our images. So, just like before, you're going to need to fold on all the score marks, burnish the edges. Alright, so I've got those all folded. Now in your kit, flip the page here, you are going to have another cutting guide. And so you just want to make sure there's like two score lines on this side. That's how it matches up. So if you have it like this, you're going to run into trouble. So match it up first before you start making any cuts. So I'm just going to start with the bottom and work my way around. So here, I'm actually going to cut little triangles out, and that will create my tabs. So there's one, okay? And then I'm going to do it again here. So another little triangle out on both. So you're going to cut on both sides of the score mark, and on this one we don't need this square, so we're going to cut like that. So now we've got that matched. So now we're going to turn it to the side. So we need this edge, okay, and then we need that tab. So we're going to completely cut that away. And then there's a portion here, and all the way you're going to skip. So 1, 2, and we're going to cut to the third line. Okay. And then we're going to cut that off. All right, so you cut this little tab off with 2 scores. We don't need those. All right, so now we're looking at this. We need 2 tabs and that part cut away. So I'm going to go in here. There's 2 tabs. So now we have a tab here and a tab here, and we don't need this piece. So we're going to cut that away. And then you have these tabs, which we're going to angle cut so that it tucks in nice. All right. And then we have this portion, which is the top of our box, and we're all good to go. Except you see here we have a circle and it says cut away. So I'm going to show you that. Inside, if you want an easy way to grab out your Kit Kat, you're going to need to cut a circle. So I have a circle punch. This is a, I don't remember. Let me measure it real quick. Here we go. It is a 1 3/4 punch. Yes, that's what it is. It's a 1 3/4 punch, but any size will do. So anything close. And I'm just going to go in, I'm going to center, I'm centering my punch between those 2 score lines, and I'm just going to take a notch out of it. Okay, so if you have a die, that'll work. You could trace something, use your scissors and cut it out, whatever you want to do, so you have something to tuck in. And then before we put our box together, we don't need that anymore, you should have this piece of paper, which is, when we put it together, is going to go on the front of our box. So what I'm going to do is use some temporary tape, and I'm just going to center that piece of paper where it will eventually go. I'm just going to have it held down like so. I'm going to flip it over, take a pencil, and trace around that cut. And now that same thing, either scissors or punch, whatever you used, I'm going to line it up, punch it out, and now that's going to match up when I put it on there. Okay, so you've got your little treat box, and over here you have these 2 tabs, and you have a tab on the end. You're going to fold that over, and this is where we're going to put adhesive. You can use wet adhesive, you can use some kind of score tape or double-sided adhesive. So I'm going to put that on that flap. And then remove the backing. What I did with my little sticky thumb tool. All right. And now what I'm going to do is fold at that second fold line, no, the Yes, the second. So let's see. We have adhesive on that tab and we folded it over flat. And then there's 1, 2 score lines. You're going to fold on the second, right on top of that, and press. And now you got your little treat box started. So to finish it, you're going to tuck in those 2 tabs. And I like to fold away so that that seam is on the back. So you can put more score tape on there. Okay. Move the backing. All right. So there's the front with the circle cut out, and that is where I put the adhesive. I tucked in the 2 tabs. I'm going to fold in the back tab and fold this over the top, making sure, oops, that it's nice and square when I do this. It's trying to move on me. I'm going to cut these real quick that don't have adhesive on it. This one is not rounded, which will help. Then it won't poke out. There we go. And now we have our little Kit Kat box. So Kit Kat slides right in there perfectly, and they've got so many fun flavors. I know at Christmas time they have a gingerbread that I really like, so that would be fun. All right, so now we're ready to decorate. So let's, we can put these papers on now. You could round these corners if you wanted to, and then you would have to round these as well. I kept mine straight, but that's a preference, whatever you want to do. So let's go ahead and put our pattern papers on. So that's just going to get lined up there, like so. And then that piece is going to go right on. So put that piece up here. All right, so there's that. And then you have the circle sentiment. It's going to go right onto the black. I'm going to center that on there. I love you more than candy cane. And then what I did was pop this up. So just on the top half. So if you want to, you know, mark it out and get an idea, and you could take that pencil and then you'll know where you need to put foam. Or you can eyeball it. So let's peel those off. And then what I'm also going to do, I'm not going to peel off the, I'm going to put one piece there, but I'm not peeling off the backing. And then let's go, I'm just going to line that right back up the way I had it. All right, so there's that. And then this piece here you can use to seal it shut, but if you want it to be able to open and close, you could peel off that backing and, you know, tack it to a shirt, take some of the tack away, you know, put it on your skin, whatever, maybe just a touch of powder so that it'll be sticky but not so sticky that you couldn't get it opened if you wanted to. Okay, so let's finish off. We have a little bit of coloring to do. So we have, let's bring back my grip mat, we have this little spider and a heart. So I'm going to use that stencil again. We need the black soot. So let's line that up. And then I'm going to use the black again, and like I said, I'm going to go heavier over here and lighter where his face is, It will create dimension, and also I'll still be able to see his little smile. Be gentle with that little spot on that. All right, and then I need to do that little circle as well, or not circle, the little heart. And I made mine blue with the evergreen bough. Just color that in. And you can certainly use colored pencils for this. So there's those. And now what I want to show you, so in your kit you have 2 little candy corns, and I wanted to color them in the same fashion so it matched as my little spider, so I could still use the inks because everything seemed to match the paper so well. So what we're going to do is make our own coloring stencils. So I'm going to cut these apart, and we're going to need 2 for each one. And so I want to color this orange, so what I need to do is go in and right at that black line, cut away the portion I want to color. All right, so what I did, I went in and I cut out that center piece. And now I've created a stencil, so I can put it right over it. It's like Post-it paper, or it's called masking paper. And now I'm going to get the yellow. I'm going to remove this one because I don't want to get ink on it. Or the orange, I'm sorry. I'm doing orange. And we're going to put orange in that center spot. All right, so that one's colored, and now when I remove the masking paper, I have colored that image. You could, if you had images at home that you were making your own, you could save that and use it over and over until it breaks down so far that you can't use it. So let's get the other one. And this time I need to cut away that bottom portion. So you want to cut up to that black line so you don't have any white spots. I have a little bit of white spots, but it doesn't bother me. Sometimes it can kind of look like a highlight. And then I'm going to cover that up and just expose the bottom. And now we're going to use the yellow, which I also have on a pouncer. We're just going to use that. And that candy corn is colored. And so now we're going to move on to this one. And we're going to do the same thing. Make ourselves our own stencil. But if you are going to just color with markers or whatever you have, then you can just toss these little masks. Put that on, and I'm going to color the orange. All right, and now we're going to go for the yellow. So there's our cute little candy corns, all colored, ready to go. I'm just going to pitch these stencils clean off my grip mat. I'll put my cover back on because I'm done with it for now. Keeps dust from getting on it so it stays nice and sticky. But if you get too much junk on it, a little bit of Dawn and some water will clean it right up. So now what we need to do is just put our little candy corns on there. We've got one down here. And one there. And I've got my little heart down here, and my spider is here. Pick up my little heart. And the spider, I'm probably going to need a little bit of foam on the back where he is hanging off. I'm going to cut a foam square in half and put it on the back. Oh, I just put it on the wrong side. Let's move that. There we go. So now he can hang off. And he's all set. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off. And I've got this rag. I'm going to make it less sticky. And now it'll hold it shut, but I can also get it open if I want. All right. So that completes that. All right, guys, that does it for this Sweet Spiders class. I hope you enjoyed using these products, and the little images are make Halloween fun. If you have any questions, you can certainly leave a comment below, and we'll do our best to get back to you. If you would like to purchase a kit, you can search us up on the web from momentstomilstones.com and search for the Sweet Spiders class that way. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.